first year, have we wrapped that up yet? First total year yet?
Yep.
So how'd that go?
Really good. Just kind of working out some things about, being a new agent. Different things that like clients say that, are trying to kind of get out of buying a house, and you kind of got to reel them back in, especially with like rates being high, prices being high. I mean, the market was crazy. When I started, it was like, you remember, it was like waiving inspections, full appraisal gaps. Houses were going $30K over asking. So it's kind of hard being a new agent, not like knowing the market beforehand and then knowing the transition to be able to like educate my clients at first. But I think it only took a few transactions to really get a grasp of like, okay, this is the market we're in. And then like kind of telling people like ahead of time before we start putting in offers, like, it's what you got to do. And that really helped me. So towards the end, I was starting to pick up a lot better momentum.
Yeah, it's like those objections, and it's crazy in this first year that you got to experience like 2 micro markets. It was crazy like that. Then we had that mini dip.
Yep.
Where it's like, okay, we're not doing buyer, or seller paid closing cost, or we're not going to waive the inspection. We're actually going to get it.
Yep.
And then now we're starting to see it go back up to those things. So you're already well vested in that side. So.
Yep.
Are you doing things in preparation with your clients to kind of prepare them for what the market's going to be like?
Yeah. So kind of what I do is like that first date with the client, I go through and I just kind of like show them like, I get an idea for their price range. I get an idea for like locations and stuff. And then I kind of just like walk through and just be like, okay, let me just tell you about how the market is right now. You need to be prepared I try to get them like pre-approved as quick as possible, just so I know like what their top dollar amount is, so I can kind of have some leeway, because I know that homes right now are going to go so far over asking. Right. On average, I've probably seen $15,000, $20,000 over asking, maybe more on some homes. So just being able to like educate them, being like, okay, your price range is capped at 350. Maybe we shouldn't be looking at 350. Houses. Maybe drop it down. 320, 330. Then we have a lot more leeway to be able to get the house.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're not going to look at their max dollar amount knowing that we have to go over asking.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
It looks like you're doing very well. What was your first year like as far as like volume and stuff?
So I know that I sold 2.7 million, I think right on the dot, actually. And I think it was 11 homes, including a lot. So 10 homes and a lot.
And now we're wrapping up. We're carrying momentum into, 2023 now?
Yep.
Are we trending upwards?
Yeah. My first month I did 1 million, 1.04, and then this month I just got another sale, so I'm about 1.4 million now.
So we got 1 million and 1.4 million. Are there things that you're doing that you're seeing great success with?
Yeah, I think it's definitely educating clients on that first date and letting them know the market, so that it's not a surprise when they put in their first offer. A lot of clients, like if you don't educate them, they put in that first offer, they go, okay, let's go, asking price. Some clients even try to go under asking. And, it's better to do it before than like right at the time of offer, because then you kind of throw it all at them once and then they're like, okay, this is actually happening. Maybe give them some time to prepare, because then they end up getting mad at you. If they don't get the house, they're like, well, why didn't we get the house? You told us we'd be good. And it's like, well, this is how the market is right now. And they're like, well, you should have told us that ahead of time, right? So it's getting ahead of that. With those oppositions, people always bring up rates. You got to tell them like 6 months you can refinance. It's not like the end of the world. If you can find the house that you love, it's better to just get in that and maybe bear the cost of the rates for a while.
Right.
And then refinance.
Yep.
Other than, be like, okay, let's wait till we can get, maybe a better rate. And the rates still aren't as bad as they were.
Right.
People are still a little spooked, but I think the best thing for people is to just talk to lenders, figure out what they can afford, figure out the rates, get a good idea, and then you educate them on the market ahead of time before we start putting in offers.
No, absolutely. And I'm seeing that as well, where we're past that sticker shock right now, where it was like, whoa, 6%, or whoa, upper whatever. And now the market is now acclimated to, hey, this is probably the new normal. Yep. And we realized maybe that 2% was just a one-off. We're not going to see that again.
Yeah. I just kind of always tell people, like, the price of a bag of chips back in, 2007 is not the same as it is now, just because of inflation. So I'm like, the rates aren't going to be the same as it was back in, 2010, 2013. And so I always tell people, like, rates probably aren't. You're never going to see rates drop back down to 3. I don't think for a while at least. Especially not in these people time frames. Like they're looking for like oh, we want to move it within a year. Like rates probably aren't going to drop down to that 3% within a year.
No, they're not, and it's just I think you're doing a very great thing with meeting with them first, going over expectations and saying, hey, this is where we're at, and these are the things if we want to win a house or we want to get your dream home, we might have to pay a little higher rate right now.
Yep.
But guess what? What we're seeing projected in Omaha is that those property values are steady increasing. 100%. I mean, just right now we're starting to see another ramp up just with the amount of buyer pools, still limited inventory.
Yep.
What they're seeing on a national level, just locally, it's just not happening here.
Yeah.
Here is so scarce, can't build them fast enough, and the buyer pool is still just so large.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just, I think you hit the nail on the head with just property. Like, property value is going to keep going up. So, people look at it now and they're like, well, I'm paying this high monthly payment. I just want to make sure I get my money back. Everybody looks on return on investment when they buy a house. Some people, it's their forever home. I've had a few buyers where this is their forever home, so that doesn't really matter to them as much as some people, maybe it's their first home. And, maybe they're a young family looking to have kids soon, and they're like, well, when we go to sell this, we don't want to be, upside down, right? We want to be able to get our return on investment. And I'm like, well, your value will keep going up, especially in Omaha.
Yeah, especially here.
Yeah.
Boise and other places, like we saw that major inflation in price. They're feeling the effects, but here it's like, man, I don't see it, and I know a lot of our colleagues and teams, we talk about it every Tuesday. We're not seeing it. So I think we're very sheltered here. I mean, we're undervalued for so long.
Yep.
I mean, people move here from other bigger cities, and they're like, man, that's I can get what for $400,000? I mean,
oh yeah.
I can't. You could barely get a condo for that from where they're at. So
yeah.
No, definitely different markets. You're seeing to take off extremely fast. What were you doing? You're very young. How old are you?
Just turned 20 actually last week.
Well, happy belated. Just turned 20.
Thank you.
Major success early on. What were you doing before this?
So I graduated high school summer of 2021. And in Nebraska, you can't get your license till you're 19. So I was 18. So I had about, I'd say probably 8 months until I could actually get my license. So that summer, I had a very good opportunity to intern with a logistics company, and I did marketing with them. Mm-hmm. So basically email campaigns, text campaigns, calling other freight liners and just kind of being like, it was all international freight that we did. Yeah. So just kind of calling them and trying to get people on board like, hey, we were a broker. So it's kind of just like, hey, we can, help you out, find, the best freight liners to go with, or, it was all these big products that like, I know Ralph Lauren was one of them that we helped. So that was pretty cool getting to, I didn't directly work with him, but the salesman under me, I was under, I got to help him out. So
it sounds like there's a little bit of sales in there. There's definitely yet to have a lot of follow up.
Yep.
Do you see that transferring to
100%?
100%?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, every day it was kind of like the same thing. Like the CRMs weren't the same, but it was the same kind of, system of like follow up every day. You set your tasks, what you got to do every day when you come into the office. Same thing here. I think it really helps with my client follow up, especially like past clients who maybe have already bought and I'm trying to get maybe some referrals, or people who I, got as leads and they kind of fell off and they're not really active. Just keep following up with them, staying in front of them, because then when they're ready to go buy a house, like I'm the first person that comes to their head because I'm always in front of them.
Dude, you at 20 and me at 20 is two different, definitely two different people. You don't see, I've seen other 20-year-old, 19, and you're around them, you're like, this guy's just, you feel young.
Yeah.
You feel mature. Like you feel like the presence and confidence that radiates. I feel like that goes very far in the sales. I do have a question for you. Just being so young and probably the people you went to school with, they're all in college. They're not earning any money. They're at school and it's maybe hard to relate. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, is that kind of weird when friends come back home? And
yeah, so most of my buddies from high school go to UNL. Mm-hmm. I have a few people who go and are off doing their own thing. It's kind of funny. I just talked with a buddy. He is working for Anderson Windows.
Sure.
So he's like the manager of a warranty manager. And so he didn't go to college. He's kind of doing that thing, and he's been doing like lawn care. He's been doing this Anderson Windows thing, and I just kind of chatted with him, being like, how, like, is it weird to see like me and you, like, we're not going to college, we're not doing like the typical route, and we're kind of just grinding and trying to work for our futures. And not that going to college is a bad thing, just for me personally, I didn't see a point. So like when I kind of talk to all my friends, they don't really get it, because like all their careers, like they're like, yeah, we got to go to college, you got to get a degree and stuff. And I'm like, with my career, I didn't need a degree.
Right.
And always having education always helps. Like, going and maybe working out with some finance, economics, marketing for sure. Like if you have degrees in those, that's definitely going to help you. But it's not a necessity in this field. So it is kind of weird talking like with them just about like, they're all like, oh, you have like such a grown-up job, and I'm just like, sometimes, but
hey, let's go get some food, and you're the only one with probably earning money at this point in time versus they're in school. Because I mean, I did a 4-year degree, and definitely not using that, but I definitely where you're at, going directly into something like real estate, I feel your trajectory is just crazy. If I got 7 more years, you're a head start by 7 years on any other agent probably starting. That's probably mid to late 20s, late 30s, and I mean you're taking advantage of that. And it's nice because you have these relationships of folks that are in college, and you can use their networks as well to grow your business. Have you seen?
Oh, for sure.
They're not quite there yet buying houses, but I think they're gonna be a big buyer pool for you here in the coming years.
Oh, for sure. And that's kind of why I really try to focus on social media too, is because that's where anybody that I went to high school with, they're all still on social media, super active. And so just kind of like posting stuff so they know like I'm a real estate agent. I had a couple people reach out to me and be like, oh, I didn't know you started real estate. I was like, yeah, I started, back in May of 2022. And, I've been doing it for a while. And they're like, oh, well, when I decide to buy a house, I'll definitely use you. I'm like, I appreciate that. So it's kind of cool just staying in front of them, and it'll be cool to work with some of the people that I went with to high school with. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, you're doing it. It sounds like you're doing everything right. And you do come from a little bit of real estate background?
Yeah, that's correct. Right? Yep. So my mom, she's a realtor for Celebrity. My dad just got his license, but just more to do like rental properties and stuff and do that himself. And then my girlfriend's dad, he was a broker for Heartland Properties. My girlfriend's also on the team, so that's pretty cool. But they all kind of gave me that advice of like, it takes a while to get like momentum built up and get a name for yourself in the real estate business. So like the earlier you can start, the better off you're going to be, because I can kind of start when I'm young and I don't have as many bills to pay, and I can kind of just grind and not like have to stress too much about money. Still, like a little bit of stress is good, kind of makes you work. But definitely like just being able to just really focus on real estate and not have to worry about, okay, well, I got to go get a second job because I got to afford rent. I got to afford this, huge car payment. I got to pay for groceries. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have my parents kind of like, be with them and just kind of do that while I start. I'm ready to move out, but, just kind of having that just when I start, and then once it's time to go, it's time to go. And
dude, I'd hold on to that as long as possible.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I mean, everybody has their timelines. No, I mean, you mentioned the team and being a part of the Briley team. I mean, there's other teams to join. What was it about the Briley team that you specifically were like, hey, that's the team for me?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually was just having this conversation the other day with my girlfriend, because I think she was going through the same kind of thing of like, you interview teams, and everybody, when they talk, they all talk themselves up, and they all like, it all seems great when you talk to them. But I think the one thing that really stood out to me about the Briley team is just the support that I knew I was going to get. Not that they said they were going to give me, like I knew, because, when I met with Kobe, he backed it up with like, okay, this agent did this in their first year. We helped them through, all of this stuff that they were going through, and just kind of being like, whenever you're going through a tough time, like you can come to us. And that was one of the things that stood out, is like, a lot of people were like, you got all this support, but that was one of the biggest things that stood out about the Briley team is like when you're struggling, you can always come to us and we'll help you through it. Like as a team, you're not on it. You're not in this by yourself. We will help you as a team. That was really cool. So I think the support was the biggest thing to me, and the name always helps. Everybody knows the Briley team, #1 team in Nebraska. So obviously that was awesome, and just kind of having that prestige like carry with me when I go to listing appointments, especially because sellers are really picky about who they use to sell their house. And being able to kind of just let them know, like, hey, you don't even have me. You have every single one of our agents. You have the whole team helping sell your house. And
I use the same thing. The leverage of the we model of, hey, especially my first listing appointment, they were like,
100%.
hey, how many houses have you sold? And I was like, well, we sell the most houses in Omaha. you know, it was instantly we. And I think you come in with that confidence knowing that, hey, it's not just you on the listing, it's you plus 50 agent team that, hey, we're gonna do our best to sell our listings.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do our best to also keep them in house to sell them to another team member.
Oh, for sure.
And then with our Zillow partnership, I mean, that just the chances of somebody calling on our house through Zillow is more than any other team in the metro.
Yeah, and another thing is I always tell people like, we sell on average 3 homes a day just within our team. And so I always tell people like, hey, I mean, the chances of another agent on our team selling his house is super high, and I can push this during team meeting. I can send this in our Slack. I can, let agents know, and people on our team know other agents too. So maybe if it's not the house for our client base, maybe it'll be the house for someone else at Berkshire. Maybe it'll be the house for someone else that knows our team really well and is like, okay, I know the Briley team. They look and see, okay, this house kind of fits the criteria. They bring it because we have that good relationship with so many agents outside of Berkshire Hathaway.
Yep. Even outside, I think you're exactly right. The brokerage, there's not really these walls like, there's Keller agents that are amazing, and there's Better Homes and Garden that, hey, they look to us like, hey, what other things you got coming? Because we do ultimately sell so much.
Yep.
No, you're off to a great start, man. I mean, what big, impact has, I guess, the Briley team had on, I don't know, your day-to-day, what you were doing before and compared to the other teams, what major thing set Briley team apart? If you could narrow it down to one thing. I know you said support, but...
Yeah, I think just everybody, being so successful on this team, being able to take little bits and pieces of their day-to-day and put it into mine. I know one of the big things that I struggled with is having a set schedule. And going to that new agent mastermind, we kind of worked over okay, you got to have a structured schedule, and maybe getting to talk to some veteran agents okay, what do you do day to day, right? Yep. And then kind of try out different things and figure out what works with me, and then have that set schedule so that it's not it's kind of hard when you kind of are your own boss, and you're doing your own thing, you don't have someone telling you what to do. It's kind of hard to just not do what you feel like. But having a set schedule is kind of almost like a 9 to 5 basically. You come in, you know what you got to do every day. Definitely in real estate, you're not working 9 to 5. I mean, most days it's 7 to 9. It's crazy. But just having that set schedule, I think, and having that support again, just with when I'm, seeing something that isn't working, I can kind of bounce off ideas with other agents and be like, okay, what's working for you? Because this isn't working for me, right? I've been trying this and it's not working. Am I doing something wrong, or, is there another route I could take that could help me be more successful? They're going to be looking to refinance. I'm like, hey, if you need me to send you rates, once you hit to that 6-month mark,
for sure,
reach out. I'm like, if you need anything, reach out. I'm your agent for life. I'm not just your agent just for this transaction. Your next transaction, your family's transaction, your friend's transaction, I'm your guy. So I think that's one of the things that I kind of made a mistake early on is when I closed, I kind of was just all right, on to the next person, which is good. Okay, let's, work on the next sale, but also let's maintain this relationship and let them know. Cause I do care, but you got to let them know that this guy's just not just, trying to sell me a house and then dip.
I think I went through the same thing where it was we get the sale and you work so hard for it and you do everything, and then it's almost like you see each other every day and then that's it.
Yep.
And it's man, I had to go back and look at my past clients and show them love as well. I mean, they actually chose
for sure.
you and myself to buy or sell their house with.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's an honor that they trust you with that kind of stuff, because that's their biggest purchase and probably the most expensive thing they're ever going to sell. So it's an honor that they trust you with helping them with that. So
absolutely, and just letting clients know, hey, I'm in for the long-term relationship.
100%.
Hey, if you don't buy with me in 3 months or 6 months or even this year, I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in building a long-term relationship that not only help you, but your family members and friends. And I think you're doing a good job at that. And I think a lot of agents are still, even veteran agents are still missing the following back. They might follow up and follow through on the transaction, but they then forget to follow back, which, I mean, currently right now, what I'm experiencing is just reaping the benefits of following back on those past clients.
And for sure.
They're like, hey, here, my cousin, my friend, my brother, my sister, they're moving, and there's millions of dollars in just that.
Yeah. Oh, referrals are like the best source of, client base that you can get, because they already know who you are and they already have a good image of you in their head because they got referred from, a family member who they trust.
And then they trust you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. So, I mean, you still got to work on, getting, like, showing them why they should trust you, but you already have that positive relationship kind of started. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. So. Do you see a difference in between, let's say, an internet lead like Zillow and the connection versus like what that connection is like when it is a referral?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. When you first get that Zillow lead, first of all, sometimes they don't even know like that you're an agent.
Yep.
A lot of times, like I always get like I just thought you worked for Zillow, and it's like, well, no, I'm an agent.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of make sure to text them and send that video so they know like, hey, I am an agent. So they're not like going to this show and thinking someone else is going to show up. So yeah, they, a lot of the times they don't know who you are. They don't really trust you. They don't know a lot about you. They're kind of like, quiet. They don't have a relationship with you. But, those referral leads, like, I remember when I got my first referral and I was just even on the phone talking to them. They're like, she's laughing. She's having a good time. She's relaxed already. Like, there's not that like tension over the phone that you kind of got to break through. Mm-hmm. She's already relaxed. She already knows. She's like, hey, so-and-so gave me your number. They said that you helped them find this amazing house. And, I'm looking. She's like, I'm not super, like, ready to go right now. But she's like, probably towards the spring I'll be ready. So she's like, if you could just, send me some homes so I can get an idea of the market. I'm like, yeah, totally. So she talked on the phone for about, I'd say, 10 minutes, just kind of about her goals, what she's looking for. Mm-hmm. Not make it sound robotic. Sometimes with those Zillow leads, too, it can kind of sound a little robotic because it's like, you're trying to get all that information. It doesn't sound super natural.
Right.
But, with those referrals, like, the relationship is already kind of being built from first contact. So it's cool. I love referrals, and they're always great people, especially when they come from past clients.
Yeah, and everything, the trust is already there. And you mentioned video. I'm finding great success personally in video, sending that on updates, especially when we first meet that client on like Zillow. What is that video looking like on that introductory phone call or after you get off that initial contact?
Yeah, so what I actually do is if they want to like schedule a showing, I try to get that scheduled first, and then I go ahead and send a video. So I'll schedule the showing and then I'll send a video, be like, hey, it's Mikey Stanton. Really enjoyed talking with you on the phone. I just got it scheduled for 123 Main Street today at 5 p.m. Looking forward to seeing you there. Looking forward to helping you out throughout this transaction, and like really excited to meet you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's very valuable. I think every agent should be doing that right now.
Oh, for sure.
If you're not, I think you're missing out on just one, building connections. And it's not just the potential lead, right? You can do that also with the agent. When you send an offer in, you can do that with the whole process. Hey, now we're under contract. What update can you get them via video that they can digest much better than text? You get lost in translation,
100%, yep. So. Yeah, so I think that's a big thing, and I kind of like how you brought up sending videos to even the listing agent. I think that's a big thing that I'm gonna start doing too when I'm submitting, especially in this like market. You want to stand out. You want your offer to stand out in any way it can. And I think sending a video to the listing agent, being like, "Hey, let me just run you through my offer really quick. We just sent it in. Maybe throw in like these guys are first time home buyers.
Right.
Loved your house." I always try to like everybody that I go and show houses to, like, especially if there's like a ring, I'm like, yeah, butter them up in front of the ring.
In the ring doorbell. Yeah. I love that. I'm like, you push it.
Yeah. I'm like, say a few things that you liked about the house as we're leaving. And so, yes. But yeah, just like little ways to get your offer to like stand out. And I think video is one of the biggest things because it instantly forms that personal relationship. You can tell who the listing agent is through a picture on the MLS, but see, like when you get that video from that agent being like, hey, I'm a real person.
Clients are real people.
Yep. And they're like, oh, you kind of, subconsciously form that relationship without even knowing. So
absolutely.